Am I the a-hole for firing an employee right before the holidays? I, 32 male, manage a small team at a mid-sized company. We're not corporate big, but we're also not a family business where everyone knows everyone's kids. Still, it's a close team and morale matters a lot. One of my employees, Jake, 29 male, has been struggling for months. Missed deadlines, sloppy work, and a lot of excuses. I didn't jump straight to discipline. I documented everything, I had multiple one-on-one conversations, adjusted his workload, and even put him on a performance improvement plan. I was very clear about expectations and timelines. He acknowledged all of it and promised he'd turn things around. He didn't. In fact, things got worse. Projects were left half finished, coworkers had to pick up his slack, and a client complained directly to me about his lack of follow through. I escalated it to HR, and after reviewing everything, they agreed termination was appropriate. Here's the part that's eating at me. The final decision landed in early December. I asked HR if we could wait until January, but they said no. His continued mistakes were costing the company money and creating liability issues. They also pointed out that delaying termination for optics actually be unfair to the rest of the team who were covering for him. So I had the meeting. Jake was blindsided, even though I genuinely don't understand how. He got angry, then emotional, and told me he had just signed a lease, had kids to buy gifts for, and that I had ruined his holidays. He accused me of being heartless and said I could have waited a few more weeks. Since then, a couple coworkers have subtly hinted that firing someone so close to the holidays was cold, even if his performance was bad. Others say it was overdue and that they're relieved. I followed policy. I gave warnings. I tried to delay it, but I still feel like the villain. So am I the a-hole for firing him right before the holidays? So here's the thing. I think anybody right off the bat would probably feel like it's an a-hole thing to do right before the holidays. But everybody has things going on during the holiday season. And as easy as it is to feel bad at the thought of firing somebody during the holiday season, think about how hard everybody is working during the holiday season, not only at work, if it's the type of business that sees an influx of traffic during the holiday season, but also when they're off and they're buying gifts for their family and they're wrapping the presents and they've got holiday parties and things that they're doing related to the season. Everybody is absolutely busting their rears during the holiday season. And if you've got someone who isn't pulling their weight and it is negatively impacting the team, and you've followed all of the steps or the procedures in terms of documenting and having one-on-ones, you have to draw that line in the sand. I feel like people could make an argument for any time of year. Like, what are you going to say next? If someone gets fired in January, are you going to say, oh, well, I put myself in credit card debt because the holidays, you could have waited until February to fire me, right? Where does it end? Before we go too far in our analysis here, there's actually an update. So let's see what else happened on the back of all of this. A few days after the termination, HR reached out to let me know Jake had filed an internal complaint claiming the firing was retaliatory and emotionally targeted because of the holidays. Because of that, I had to submit even more documentation. Emails, performance reviews, meeting notes, timestamps of missed deadlines, all of it. Thankfully, I'd kept detailed records. HR reviewed everything and closed the complaint within 48 hours, stating the termination was fully justified and properly handled. Here's where it got messier. One of Jake's former coworkers admitted to me that Jake had been telling people he was basically fired for being poor and that management knew he had kids and didn't care. This created some tension on the team until I finally addressed it head on in a team meeting without naming him. I reiterated that performance expectations apply to everyone equally and that personal circumstances, while human, don't override accountability, especially when others are being negatively impacted. After that meeting, morale actually improved. Deadlines stopped slipping. People stopped staying late to fix someone else's mistakes. A few team members privately thanked me for finally handling the situation. The final twist. Jake emailed me last week asking if I would reconsider and rehire him after the new year. He said he'd had time to reflect and now understood where things went wrong. I forwarded the email to HR, who shut that down immediately due to the complaint he had already filed and the lack of trust going forward. I still don't feel good about the timing, and I probably never will. But I do feel more confident that I made the right call. Not just for the company, but for the rest of the team who were carrying extra weight for months. So yeah, still sucks, but lesson learned. Delaying the inevitable doesn't make it kinder. It just spreads the damage around. At the end of the day, I don't think anybody wants to have to fire anybody. And especially during a time where having your financial ducks in a row is so important. But it gets to a point where if someone has been given plenty of warnings and the expectation has been set, regardless of what time of year it is and what anybody has going on, you have to rip that Band-Aid off, especially if it's dragging the morale of the rest of the team down. It sounds like the people who were quick to criticize the boss for firing their coworker during the holidays probably weren't feeling the effects of them, while others were very grateful that they finally ripped off the Band-Aid. It's also nice to see that everybody else on the team seemed to actually step up their game as after all of this happened as well, which goes to show, like, if you have one person who is dragging everybody else down, then you're going to have people on the team who are going to, whether they realize it or not, kind of take advantage of the situation, because they're going to say, well, if so-and-so isn't having to pull their own weight, then why am I working twice as hard as them? It doesn't make any sense. So at the end of the day, as much as it sucks, I definitely don't think that that was an a-hole move, whether it's the holiday season or it's right after the holidays and we're in that holiday debt because we weren't financially planned for it, or who knows? I mean, people have things going on all the time, and you can't just keep dragging things on in the hopes of smoothing it over. And for Jake's immediate response to be to file a complaint about retaliation and all of that, clearly accountability is not in our vocabulary. Although in the end there, maybe his desperation to try to get his job back, maybe he actually learned something, but I'm not really sure. And it's hard to know. It's hard to say. But I'm curious to know what your thoughts are about everything. Do we think Jake learned a lesson because of this, and that's why he came running back after his mistake? Do you think that the boss and HR are a-holes for firing him right in the middle of the holiday season? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and I'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching.